Hello, my name is Billy Buck, National Corporate Chef for Rational USA. I'm here today to teach you some tips and tricks while using your self-cooking center. Today I'd like to start by cooking some of our breaded chicken that we have here. To do that, we simply go to our self-cooking center. From the Intelligent Cooking Control panel, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the poultry button. And from the poultry button, it's giving me different options here. It gives me the option for roasted, there's turkey, pan fried, a duck breast here, we have grilled, we have Peking duck, we have breaded. So I'm simply going to go ahead and select my breaded item, and then I'm going to define the result. When the settings screen comes up, I have the options to decide, do I want to use thin or do I want to use thick? In this case, we're going to use thin. When selecting thin, you can see that we're only going to be working with time. If I go thick, we're going to be using the core temperature probe. To be using the core temperature probe, the product needs to be at least 3/4 of an inch in thickness or greater. So for this particular instance, we're going to go with thin, and then we're going to take our coloration level here from light to dark. We're going to go ahead with the medium setting. And then it tells me or asks me if I want to set the time. So for this particular instance, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cook this particular breaded chicken for 6 minutes and 45 seconds. You can see here now that the self-cooking center is giving me an indication that the temperature is rising and that it's preheating. So I'm going to go ahead and oil our chicken now. So instead of putting this into a deep fryer, we're just going to use a small amount of oil and place it onto one of our granite enamel pans. When breading the chicken, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to dredge my presentation side, or excuse me, dredge the bottom side, and then I'm going to go ahead and place it on the granite enamel pan. So I'm just going to dredge one side in the oil, place it on the pan here. I only dredge the one side because the oil is going to run underneath and it's going to fry the other side just fine. This is a great way of saving oil in your kitchen. You don't need as much, or compared to a deep fat fryer, much less oil that's being used. But I do want to make sure that I get all of it coated there. I don't want to have any dry spots because that's going to show up in my final result. So I've got one ready to go. Here we'll go ahead and dredge this in oil. I'm going to use just maybe a little more olive oil here. You can use whatever oil you want. If you're using an artificial product like Phase, if you want to use vegetable oil, whatever your preferred oil is, that's up to you. So now we have our oil, our chicken all nice and oiled. I can come back to the self-cooking center and I can see that it's almost preheated. You can see now that the self-cooking center is ready for me to load. I have an indication here that's showing a pan going inside, but you can also see that the light is blinking telling me to load. So even from across the kitchen, I've got a visual what the self-cooking center is asking to do. So I'm simply going to pop the door. I'm going to pop it carefully, okay, so that I don't get that blast of heat coming at me. Let the hood do its job. Open it up, and now I can load. Once we have the product loaded, if you were doing 12 pans in this instance, you could load it up completely. Here we're only doing the 2, so I'm going to pop it in there, close the pan, or close the door, and that's it. So now, what's happening with the self-cooking center? Right now it's telling me approximately 7 minutes in the cooking time, but I'm going to go to my ICC cockpit, my Intelligent Cooking Control cockpit. When I select that, I can see exactly what's going on. It's telling me right now that it's working with dry air, it's 447 degrees, and it's allowing 50% of the moisture to remain inside of the cabinet. It's actually giving me a message right now that's telling me that the self-cooking center is recognizing the load quantity. How much food is it cooking right now? Once it figures that out, it may send me a message that it's made adjustments. You can see now that it's already skipped to step 4 out of 5, and it's running in combination mode. Here we're adding 50% humidity to make sure that we have a juicy inside and a crispy outside. It's running in combination mode at 447 degrees with 50% humidity. The final step, if I want to see that into the future of its cooking path, I can do that as well, just by simply rolling the dial. Here it says that it's in step 5 out of 5. It's cooking in dry mode at 447 degrees, and it's now extracting humidity, or it will be extracting humidity once it gets to its 5th step. The options, or to follow that, it's going to tell me, if I decide that I want to add a little bit of time back onto it, I could go ahead and select that option at the end, or if I had a whole nother batch that needed to be going in, I would select a new batch and run the process again. So we'll go ahead and let our self-cooking center cook for a little while here, and we'll come back once it's done. Okay, so the self-cooking center is almost done here. You can see that it's got approximately 1 minute to go, or there it is, it's telling me it's done. Here you can see that the light's flashing to tell me that we've ended. All I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to pop the door. Now the best idea is to use the door as sort of a shield. Pop it, Let the hood do its job. Once you hear the fan wheel stopping there, it's okay then to come on in. So we'll go ahead and open this up. You can see how it's just sizzling away here. So we had our breaded product. Traditionally, this would be done in a saute pan, or maybe in a braising pan, or even in a deep fryer. Here we're getting all that nice sizzle and that fried action. Pull these out. You can see in total that the Self-Cooking Center said that it was actually 7 minutes. Okay, so I set it for 6 minutes and 45 seconds. The Self-Cooking Center adapted to my door opening and loading, and it actually added a few seconds on to make sure that it got a proper cook time. You can see here now, when we're serving this product, I just want to make sure that we serve the presentation side up and that we have a nice grilled look, or a nice pan fried look there, and a nice crispy presentation to work with. You can hear here, once I get to it, you've got a nice crisp going there and a nice crunch when we cut into it. Juicy on the inside, crispy on the outside. So if you like that and you say that's perfect, that's the program I want to run every single time, regardless of how many I'm putting in there, or regardless of who's operating the equipment at that point, all you have to do now is go ahead and hit this little notepad. I select the notepad, and then I can write the program name. Here I'm going to write chicken parm. Chicken parm, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. You can see that it's always listed up there now. The next time I want to find that, all I have to do then is go from my home screen. Now I just go to my menu button. I select the product that I'm looking for. In this case, it was chicken parm. Select chicken parm, close the door, and the process repeats.